Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning still. I'd like to just start by thanking Paulo Cesar for his leadership. I've worked with Paulo now for 5.5 years. I was invited to join Embraer by Paulo Cesar, and everything we do at Embraer is about continuity. It's how we think, it's in our DNA, and we're always thinking about the future. We have an organization under Paulo's leadership that he has developed over the last 6.5 years while he was president and CEO of commercial aviation that's very robust. So thank you for a robust organization, but also we have a lot of momentum that we've developed over the last number of years in the sales, not only of the E1, but of course of the E2. We're now celebrating, I guess, our 3rd anniversary of just launching the E2 program. We got authorization to offer just the day before the air show started 3 years ago. So we unquestionably have experienced a lot of momentum on the E2 program as well. So I'd like to thank Paulo. I promise you I won't let you down, and look forward to working with everybody here in the room over the course of the next number of years. So with that, we'll now formally kick off the Embraer Commercial Aviation press conference. I'll say some initial remarks, and then I'll hand over to Luis Carlos Afonso, who will bring us through the E2 program as it sits today. And then I'll come up and I'll say some final remarks. So when we think about the current market status, I guess I like to keep my slides quite simple. An amazing backlog, over 1,700 aircraft across the E1 and E2 families. We've over 1,200 delivered. One interesting fact, Embraer now has over 100 jet customers around the world, with our ERJ family and the E-Jet family. So that franchise footprint, that global franchise footprint that we're enjoying, that tacit knowledge that we're getting, that learning experience that we have, that incumbency we have from customers, is something that allows us to constantly learn from the customers as we grow and we enter into the program with the E2 deliveries. We're very proud of this picture. It looks very different to, let's say, 10 or 12 years ago when Embraer was a leader in the 50-seat category. But of course, back then there was a focus in Western continental Europe and North America. Today, right across the world, we have operators right across the world. For the E-Jet family alone, you're looking at 70 operators in 50 countries. The reason that's important, of course, we learn about the aircraft in all the climates of the world, but the residual values of the aircraft remain robust. And one of the reasons is you have a wide operator base. Many operators join the aircraft with pre-owned aircraft. Some join the program with new aircraft. So that allows us to broaden that franchise footprint. And it makes it easier as we enter into service the E2. When we think about market share, it is an important metric. Two aspects to market share. We have over 50% of the sales in our space. Our space being defined as 70 to 130 seats. But as Paulo Cesar would always remind me, it's not percentage of sales that matters, it's percentage of deliveries, because that's when the revenue shows up. And in that context, we have 60% in our business, which of course is truly an oligopoly. It's not a duopoly, it's truly a very competitive industry. And that's one of the things that helps us improve our offering on a constant basis, not only for the new aircraft that we deliver, but for the customer care that we deploy in the market after the aircraft delivers. We're constantly adding new customers right around the world, flag carriers, startups, the full gamut are interested in entering into service. Everything from the 170 all the way up to the 195. We look at Austrian as a flag carrier in Western continental Europe, introducing the 95, TAP in Portugal introducing the 190. And for us, airlines that are taking some pre-owned aircraft, that indeed for us is a plus. That's how the biggest OEMs in the world operate, because it frees up capacity from those existing operators to bring in the newest technology. So whatever is the right solution for the customer base, that's what we're trying to position Embraer to present. I'd also just like to recognize that we have our president of China in the room, Mr. Guan at the back. China continues to play a significant role in our growth franchise footprint around the world. And indeed in China we have over 80% market share of the in-service jet fleet below 130 seats. And finally, my last slide before I hand over to Louise, because these slides will be a lot more interesting to folks here on the E2. But when we think about, we're about to release, or we're releasing now our 20-year forecast, running out to 2035. And when we look at the aggregate numbers, if we can just get that, we're now running an estimate, a continuation of the number that we had last year, 6,400. It's a slight uplift from the number last year, but it's right around the same ballpark that we expected last year. North America and Europe on aggregate will continue to take about half of our deliveries over the course of the next 20 years. But good diversity across the rest of the world. That's a perfect franchise footprint. This represents about $300 billion. So in today's dollars, it's a very meaningful market. And our aspiration, my vision, my target is to maintain the sort of penetration we've existed with the current profile that we have. So specifically, we would like to maintain our leadership of 60% of the deliveries in this space over the course of the next 20 years. So with that, I'd like to hand over now to our Chief Operations Officer, Luis Carlos Afonso.